He wasn't the loudest, he wasn't the largest, but Makulu was the most ruthless. As one of the original leaders of the infamous Mapogo coalition, Makulu carved his legacy through dominance, fear, and unmatched brutality. While others relied on strength or numbers, he relied on precision and cold, calculated violence. In this powerful wildlife documentary, we unravel the story of a lion who ruled not through charisma, but through control. Witness how Makulu's decisions reshaped the hierarchy of the African bush, solidified the Mapogos as a legendary force, and left a trail of broken coalitions and scattered bones. This is not just the tale of a lion, it's the rise of a myth forged in blood and survival. He was never the loudest. He did not announce himself with roars or grand battles. He entered the world without ceremony, and for a time, he remained unseen. But Makulu was always watching. While others fought for recognition, he stayed in the background, eyes fixed, mind quiet. He was the lion that waited for weakness. For the moment, hesitation bloomed, for the space between one breath and the next when fear took hold. That was when he moved. Makulu was not born a tyrant. He was forged by what the wild required: patience, calculation, and silence. Where others grew bold, he grew sharp. Where others chased, he stalked. Where others roared, he listened. Long before the Mapogo coalition had a name, Makulu had already begun laying the foundation for how he would survive it. He understood that brute strength was fleeting. That fear, once planted, lasted longer than pain. That the lion who could outweight a threat was more dangerous than the one who rushed to meet it. His claws were not the sharpest, but his will was. Others underestimated him. They mistook quiet for weakness, patience for cowardice. They would learn. Makulu became a shadow within the Pride lands, a shape others felt before they saw, a presence that chilled the air without sound. He killed only when it mattered. He spoke only when it served him. He ruled long before anyone realized he was ruling. By the time his name was known, it was already too late to stop him. Makulu was not a lion of legend. He was the silence that made legends tremble, and he was just beginning. Before the blood, before the terror, there was just a lion cub, small, observant, and already out of place. Makulu was not born into dominance. His earliest days were marked by indifference. His mother was protective but stretched thin. His father was distant, preoccupied with other prides, other rivals. Makulu learned early that attention was something earned, not given, and that it often came at a cost. As his siblings fought and played, Makulu watched. While others learned through pain, he learned through distance. His instincts told him to conserve, to remain unseen until necessity demanded presence. He did not chase after affection or fight for position. He simply adapted. Adolescence brought exile. Like many young males, Makulu was forced from his natal pride when he became too large, too threatening. But unlike others, he did not panic. He vanished into the wilderness, not as a victim, but as a shadow. The loneliest part of the lion's journey became his advantage. During those months, maybe years alone, something in him hardened. Hunger taught him not to waste energy. Isolation taught him that reliance is weakness. He watched other males, form pairs, brothers clinging to each other for survival. Makulu remained alone and survived anyway. He witnessed battles he did not join. He scouted prides he did not challenge. He tested the edges of danger and stepped back before being seen. His survival was not passive, it was strategic. He was not waiting for fate. He was studying it. By the time he met the others, the lions, who would later form the Mapogo coalition, Makulu was not like them. He did not laugh in battle, he did not strut after victory. But he was necessary. His silence made the others louder. His restraint gave them space to rage. And when he spoke, they listened. He offered no promises, he accepted no bond, but they knew. Every coalition needs balance, and Makulu, quiet and cold, was the weight that would anchor their fire. He was not the heart of Mapogo, he was its spine. And though the others would roar and bleed and take the glory, Makulu was the one who would hold the line when everything else began to fall apart. If you're enjoying the story, hit the like button and leave a comment sharing what has impressed you the most so far. Your support helps this content reach more people who love wildlife. They were not born together. They were not brothers by blood, but fate and the brutality of the wild brought them into the same orbit. Makulu met the others one by one. Mr. T, Dreadlocks, Pretty Boy, Kinky Tail, and Rasta. Each one was fierce, driven, wounded in different ways. None of them trusted easily. But they recognized something in each other. Hunger without apology. Violence without guilt. In the fractured lands of the Sabi Sands, male lions often roamed alone or in pairs. A coalition of 3 was rare. 6 was unthinkable. And yet, Mapogo was born. From the beginning, they were different. They did not follow the pattern of slow conquest. They were a storm. Their attacks were fast, coordinated, devastating. Within weeks, rival coalitions vanished. Prides scattered. Cubs died. Land trembled at their approach. Makulu was not their leader by title. Mr. T and Kinky Tail drew most of the attention with their explosive aggression, but Makulu was the constant, the strategist, the tactician, the observer who made sure the chaos had direction. While others rushed into battle, he circled. While others celebrated kills, he calculated the next move. He did not seek blood for glory. He spilled it for control. Under their reign, the Sabi Sands became a graveyard of broken bloodlines. Mapogo did not merely take territory. They erased legacies. Every pride they conquered lost its future. Every cub that wasn't theirs was killed. It wasn't cruelty. It was efficiency. Makulu enforced a rule few could name but all understood. There would be no rivals, no hesitation, no mercy. As word of their coalition spread, Mapogo crossed from story into legend. Even humans took notice. Researchers documented them. Tourists hoped to glimpse their scars. Guides whispered their names at dusk like warnings, and within it all, Makulu remained the still core. He let the others roar. He let them draw attention. That suited him. He preferred the shadows, preferred to strike from the blind side. The world saw the coalition's rage. They missed its spine. They missed Makulu, but it was his cold mind that sustained the empire. Without him, the fury would have burned itself out. With him, it became a system, predictable, powerful, terrifying. And as the bodies piled and the prides fell, Makulu's eyes stayed forward, because this was only the beginning. Power does not scream, it doesn't need to. While Mr. T was feared for his brutality and Kinky Tail admired for his courage, Makulu ruled through something deeper. Certainty. He was the one who never flinched, the one who never hesitated, the one who never needed to be loud. At the height of the Mapogo reign, their coalition controlled multiple prides across vast territory. Most coalitions struggled to hold even one, but under Makulu's silent structure, Mapogo expanded like fire, through dry grass. He established patterns others followed without knowing. Hunting routes, patrol cycles, kill zones, Makulu kept it all balanced. If one of the brothers broke formation, Makulu corrected it. If a rival male crossed into their range, Makulu planned the ambush. His mind held the map. His presence kept the rhythm. The law was simple. Stay sharp, strike fast, show no weakness. When young males attempted to rise, they were crushed. When lionesses questioned the order, they were reminded. Cubs that weren't Mapogo blood didn't last the day. There was no sentiment, no sympathy, just order. Makulu didn't waste energy on emotion. He didn't seek recognition. He didn't need followers. What he built was not a family. It was a machine. And every lion in it was a cog that either turned or broke. His strength came not from dominance but discipline. He rarely fought for status because no one dared challenge him. His authority wasn't loud, it was absolute. And yet, there was something haunting in his silence. Lionesses followed him but kept their distance. Cubs avoided his path. Even his brothers watched him out of the corner of their eyes. Makulu did not rule with affection. He ruled with iron claws, sharpened by survival. He was the law, and as long. As he walked the land, it obeyed. In the wild, loyalty is earned in blood or demanded in fear. Makulu chose the latter. He was not the kind of lion other males gathered around for warmth or trust. He offered neither. What he offered was stability, not through compassion but through certainty. Under his presence, the chaos of the Mapogo coalition had shape. There were boundaries, invisible rules, and every lion in the group knew where they stood even if they didn't like it. His brothers, each fierce in their own right, understood that Makulu's silence was not passivity, it was vigilance. He missed nothing. When one of them became reckless, Makulu was the first to correct course, not with words but with action. A blocked path, a shared kill denied, a stare that froze movement mid-step. They respected him not because he inspired, but because he endured. Lionesses followed Makulu, but not out of affection. His presence was cold but effective. He provided protection, he brought order. They could raise cubs under his system, if the cubs were his. If not, they died. No questions asked. Even in peace, Makulu radiated a quiet threat. He never rested. Fully. His eyes were always scanning. His ears twitched at distant sounds. He trusted no one, not even his brothers. Especially not his brothers. When conflict erupted between Mr. T and others in the coalition, Makulu intervened not to protect bonds but to preserve balance. He wasn't there to save anyone, he was there to make sure the machine kept turning. In battles, Makulu rarely led the charge, but when he moved, the outcome changed. His attacks were not wild but precise. He did not roar to intimidate, he struck to end. His presence on the field gave others confidence, but it also reminded them of consequences. There was no fallback, no forgiveness. Lions that challenged Mapogo feared Mr. T's rage, but they feared Makulu's control more. Rage burns fast, control lingers, it plans, it waits. Those outside the coalition respected Makulu's mind, those within feared it. Still, fear is a kind of loyalty, and for years it was enough. Makulu didn't seek legacy, he didn't seek love. He kept the dynasty intact because it was his to maintain. Because the wild, as he had learned long ago, bends only to those who hold their grip longer than anyone else. He held it, but even iron claws eventually dull. The cracks didn't appear overnight. They had always been there, hairline fractures, beneath the surface hidden by fear and force, but when the machine stopped moving in unison, those fractures widened. It began with absence. One brother disappeared for days. When he returned, his face was torn and his gait uneven. No one asked where he had been. Makulu didn't speak. He only stared longer than usual. The coalition resumed patrol, but something had shifted. Then came the death of one of the Mapogo. It was sudden, brutal. A rival coalition, younger and faster, caught him alone. His body was found mauled, his scent barely recognizable. The brothers responded with blood, an attack that scattered the rivals and left carcasses behind. But the victory felt hollow. It was not a warning to the world. It was a reminder to themselves. They could bleed. The Mapogo were no longer invincible. Age had crept into their bones. The land they once ruled without resistance now stirred with challenge. Their numbers had dwindled, and with each loss their grip loosened. Inside the coalition, trust eroded. Mr. T grew more erratic. Kinky Tail became distant. Rasta disappeared entirely. There was no counsel, no plan, just instincts pulling in different directions. Makulu tried to maintain the structure, but even his silence no longer calmed the others. The weight was too much for one lion to carry. He walked the old patrols alone now, slower, more alert. He still held himself tall, but the land no longer bowed. Roars in the distance came more frequently, and for the first time in years, Makulu did not answer immediately. The coalition that had once been feared across the savannah was beginning to fracture, not from outside attack, but from within. Even iron, under enough pressure, begins to break. Makulu still walked as if the land belonged to him, but the land had changed. The acacia trees still offered shade. The herds still moved with the seasons. But the wind no longer carried his name with reverence. It moved past him, indifferent, ready. for someone new. He was older now. His steps, once deliberate and sharp, had softened. His muscles held less tension. His eyes, still alert, took longer to focus. The wounds took longer to close, and yet he walked. He had outlived many, his brothers, his rivals, even some of his sons. The coalition that once darkened the horizon, like a storm, had been reduced to flickers of memory. Makulu remained, not because he was held up by others, but because he refused to fall. A younger coalition approached his territory. They were loud, unscarred, hungry. They patrolled with pride, announcing their arrival at every bend. Makulu did not roar in return. He waited. When they crossed the boundary, he did not attack immediately. He watched. He studied. And then, alone, he made his move. The fight was not glorious, it was savage. He struck first, tore through one male's shoulder, sent another fleeing. But it was not the victory it would have been years ago. His body betrayed him. His claws didn't sink as deep. His breaths came faster. They regrouped, came again. This time he held his ground, but only just. When the dust cleared, the younger lions were bloodied, but Makulu did not chase them. He watched them vanish into the brush and turned away, his side torn, his gait uneven. He had proven what he needed, that he would not surrender, that even at the edge of time, he remained iron. But in that moment, he knew something had changed. He had not lost, but he would not win again. There was no roar at the end, no battle cry, no farewell. Makulu vanished the way he had lived, without spectacle. One morning he was gone. No patrol, no trail. Only the silence left behind, where his presence used to press into the world like a weight. Some say he wandered off too wounded to continue. Others believe he laid down beneath a tree he once marked, waiting for the sun to set one final time. No one knows where he died. No bones were found. No pride stumbled upon his remains. The land simply absorbed him, and that perhaps was fitting. Makulu was never meant for legends sung in celebration. He was the shadow that made heroes flinch, the spine of a coalition built on control and fear. His story was never about glory. It was about order in chaos. Will over instinct. When his breath stopped, nothing around him changed. The birds still sang, the prey still grazed. The younger lions moved in without hesitation, but something, somewhere, remembered. Maybe it was the way the wind paused at dusk, or how the lionesses looked toward the horizon a moment longer than necessary. Maybe it was the silence that settled too quickly over old Mapogo land. Makulu had not sought a crown. He had held it because no one else could. And when he was gone, the crown fell with him, into dust, into memory, into the quiet. The iron had finally rusted, and the last trace of its weight was a name no longer spoken, only felt. In the savannah, stories vanish faster than tracks in the sand. The rains wash away the blood. The wind carries the scent of kings and killers alike, and time, relentless and blind, moves forward. Makulu left no cubs to carry his line, no followers to guard his memory. He left no monument but silence. But for those who knew, those who watched from a distance, those who whispered in the presence of his shadow, he was never forgotten. His rule wasn't beautiful. It wasn't even heroic. It was cold, necessary, unyielding. Makulu didn't rise to power by being loved or feared. He rose because no one else could hold it all together. And when he was gone, the structure he upheld crumbled like dry earth. In the heat, guides no longer speak his name to tourists. They point to other lions now, young, loud, reckless. But every once in a while, when they pass through a quiet stretch of land where nothing stirs and the air feels too still, they pause. Because something lingers there. A weight, a presence, not a ghost, not a legend, a memory too heavy to lift. Makulu was not the roar that echoed through the plains. He was the silence that followed it. He ruled without need for followers, loved without warmth, died without spectacle, and still, the land remembers. The order he imposed, the discipline he demanded, the cost he paid. And maybe that's the truest kind of legacy. Not one sung, not one celebrated, one that survives in absence, one that shapes the wild long after it's gone. Makulu's name is no, longer spoken loudly, but it is still felt in the quiet places where even the young lions hesitate to roar.